So this is the standard window of SQLCop. So once you open after installing SQLCop, once you open SQLCop, we are greeted with this window. So first we have to start a new project. So once you start a new project, this is what you get. The next idea is to add targets. What are we going to analyze? SQLCop identifies it as a target. So we can add a file wherein the file can be a stored procedure, a scalar function, and many others. Similarly, we can add a directory which has all these files, or we can directly analyze the database. I'll show you how to analyze files from a directory which has stored procedures. So we'll select a folder which has the following stored procedure script. The other tab basically has all the rules defined. Here you can actually check or uncheck if a particular rule is required or not. So right now all the rules are checked. Now all you have to do is analyze. So once you analyze, you will get errors something similar to this. So with a priority defined, basically these symbols define priority for each of the errors. So crossmark signifies that okay, this error has to be solved. It's a very critical error and the application's performance can get affected because of this. Similarly, these are warnings, and I is basically for informations. So once the script files are analyzed, the certainty gives you what is the certainty of this happening, which rule it's referring to and which file it's referring to. Going back to the demo slide, sorry. SQLCop, we have seen the graphical version of SQLCop, but SQLCop also comes in a command line version, and even command line version can be used to analyze SQL files. So there are basically 4 steps to analyze your script files. One is create a new project, add the target files, modify rules according to your need, and analyze, and then you have all your results for the analysis which you've got to fix. So do's and don'ts. Usually once you say that okay, this is a code analysis tool and it's going to help you in improving performance of your application, it's very important to understand that these rules are recommendations which have been observed over a series of applications by Microsoft employees, but requirements for your project may or may not fall in line with these requirements or these rules. So it's very important to analyze each and every warning before you fix them. Now we'll have look at some common do's and don'ts for SQLCop. Do's. Any quality tool should be part of the development process. Quality cannot be achieved in the end. So all quality tools including SQLCop should be part of development cycle. They should be run as early as possible. Analyze every warning before fixing. As I've already told you, you should analyze every warning before we fix them, because our requirements may or may not be in sync with these rules. Some of the common warnings which SQLCop gives are keyword casing warnings, one actionable item per line, multiple blank lines, and so on. These are some of the common warnings which should be fixed, and they don't really have an adverse effect on the application as such. Don'ts. Resolve all SQL warnings and errors. No, as I've already told you, you should resolve only warnings which are applicable to your application. Changing SQL objects to resolve errors toward the end of the project lifecycle. As I've already told you, quality tools should be part of the development cycle. Ignoring entire rules instead of handling each warning. We have seen that okay, all the rules are grouped as all the sub rules are grouped as rules which are broadly classified into the various categories we have discussed. We often see that when we want to ignore one of the sub rules, we end up ignoring all the rules, which should not be done. We should ignore only rules which we don't want rather than ignoring the entire class of it. Some common mistakes. or common errors which SQLCop gives. Set no count on, use exists, select star, parameter sniffer, using tab character in code, keyword casing, and one actionable item per line. Each of these warnings are, along with the description why should they be fixed and why should they not be fixed, are discussed more in detail in the CHM or the help file which comes with SQLCop. We should refer to each the help file for each and every warning, analyze every warning before we fix them. Creating custom rules. The rules which we have seen so far have been specific to Microsoft or have been designed by Microsoft, but we may want to extend SQLCop to enforce our organization specific rules. So SQLCop is flexible to provide extending the SQLCop to analyze your own rules. So by this, what we can do is we can customize SQLCop to ensure some of the common errors or mistakes which keep happening in our organization and avoid them. So how do you create custom rules? Microsoft provides SQLCop.sdk.dll and SQLCop.sql objects DLL to customize SQLCop. We can use those and follow these steps to create our own rules and then use those rules in SQLCop. So first you have to add a class library project because our end output is going to be a DLL. Add references to the required DLLs. Create a resource file for the rule. Then create a new class file and inherit base analysis rule available in the SDK. Add a constructor and remove all default constructors. Add another class file specific for a rule. The class file which you have added earlier was for the grouping, and now we define specific rules. And so once you define the specific rules, we will have to inherit the base rule class which you have defined. And now we have to override the check method from the SDK in the specific rules that we are creating. Add our validation code and build the project. The output will be DLL. We'll have to use this DLL and place it in Microsoft SQLCop/rules folder, and these rules will then be available in SQLCop. Now we'll have a small quiz on SQLCop. Should you uncheck an entire rule to avoid warnings of a particular type? As we have already discussed, we should not. We should only uncheck those warnings which we would want to avoid, rather than unchecking an entire set of rules. What are the steps involved in running SQLCop? SQLCop is a 4-step process when you've got to create a new project, add the target script files, customize or check uncheck rules based on your requirements, and analyze. After analysis, the SQLCop will give you all the set of warnings that needs to be fixed. What customizations does SQLCop support? As we have discussed, SQLCop supports adding custom rules so that SQLCop can be customized to meet the specific needs of an organization. Should all warnings and errors prompted by SQLCop be fixed? As you have already discussed, not all warnings should be fixed. Only warnings which do not conflict with the requirements of a project should be fixed. The references will be the SQLCop help file which comes with the SQLCop installation. Thank you.